We made this.
Welcome to the Starlight Ballroom. Hey!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shipwrecked and Comatose, the Red Dwarf podcast here on the We Made This podcast network. My name is Kurt North, and you are here for the third week in a row to talk about Back to Earth, because it's getting tired. We're getting tired now. We are talking about Back to Earth, episode 3. This week, this is our third week in a row with all 5, minus a peeing Mark Adams. He's back. He's now back. He's arrived just on cue.
I need a wee between every episode recording because I've got a peanut bladder.
I just thought the camera was going to go on. Mark just dives into shot.
Mark, are you still recording for me?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So we're talking about part 3. We want to get through this as fast as possible. We're totally unprofessional because, you know, we're going into the early hours of the following morning. So
my alarm for work goes off in 5 hours and 22 minutes.
I've got hobnobs.
I've got the week off work.
I've got Go Bears. I'm back at work tomorrow. After a week off.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm only in tomorrow. I'm off Wednesday.
Right, let's get on with it.
Let's get on to it. So we're in Coronation Street.
Why?
Yeah. So what do we talk about?
This must have very much confused international viewers, because I don't think Coronation Street is probably something that Americans really have much of a cultural understanding of.
It's big in Canada.
Is it? Okay.
So I mean, what do you think to the? One, they're in the car in the positions they're supposed to be in for a start off, which is nice touch. Yep. But they start talking about the bringing it down, so like sort of lock up and all that kind of thing, thrusters on and all that kind of thing. Well, do you think that worked or not?
No, it was shit.
No, it's terrible, awful. But it's interesting. A smart car only has 2 seats, but they were actually in the smart car. This is from the comms. They took the fucking chairs out and put them on boxes. You're absolutely right.
I do like the thing that the cat had a steering wheel.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of my friends used to have a smart car years ago when I I was about 20, something like that. And I have I've sat in the back of a smart car while she's driven down the road, just in the boot sort of bit. Terrifying is what it was.
Well, you'd think that Rimmer would just like go, tell you what, I'll just take my light B out for a sec.
Yeah,
because
I don't think he trusts them.
No, I am a bigger chap, and I've got in my friend's smart car before, and we had to do a bit of strategic placing with me and another person, so we didn't weigh down the smart car.
You see, my problem with things like that is I'm more like that Simpsons character that's got the massive long legs.
I've always wanted a smart car, but I've never got in one. So I don't know at 6'1" whether or not I can actually drive one of the motherfuckers.
You probably can get in one of the 2-seaters. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the thing I'd really like them, and I probably would drive one if I drove. But it would look ridiculous watching me get in and out. It'd be like a clown car.
You can't fit very many guitars or amplifiers in the back. That's why I've never looked at them.
Yes. The smart car, the enemy of the touring band.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I've got my bass guitar back.
No,
it's been away for months. Nice to have it back. I do like Crichton going to the post box and saying it's been vandaled and, you know, it's no longer there and stuff. I did like that.
That was almost Beano level.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Still kind of fun. So some other stuff from the commentary that I thought was fascinating. At this point in time, in 2009, Simon Gregson had been in a grand total of 2 television programmes, Coronation Street and Red Dwarf.
Okay.
This was his second ever TV show. He's never acted in anything else ever.
Wow.
He's been in it since he was like 15, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
He's never needed to be in anything else, and this was the fun thing. And Doug Naylor said that they couldn't have been kinder at Granada Studios, and they really looked after them, and they really helped them, and they were really friendly. And all of the Coronation Street scenes were recorded in just one day.
Mm.
So this is the second Coronation Street set, isn't it?
Mm.
Because I remember going to the original one because they included like the bus stop and stuff when they moved. But I can remember going to the first one. I haven't been to the second one.
What I wonder about all of this is it a fuck you to the BBC for refusing to make any more Red Dwarf? Is that they put a programme that is associated with the BBC slap bang in the most famous ITV show of all time?
I just think
I think it's a planets align moment
it's just
as
Craig
well.
Charles in it being.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more the fact that Craig Charles was on there.
And they could probably use it for very, very cheap.
Yeah, I can imagine there is a bit of an element of a fuck you in there, but the fact that Craig's there is like, this is going to make it so much easier, and it could work as a nice little sort of fuck you.
Mm.
But I think Dave probably has more connections with ITV than they do the BBC.
Yeah, I don't fully understand who owns what, but I think the UK TV kind of section, I think, is either affiliated or whether it's owned or something, or whether it's got the same parent company. I'm not % sure, but because there's a lot of IT dramas that get repeated a lot on like
But at
Drama and Yesterday. Mm-hmm.
At the same time, Dave was initially almost all BBC programming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true, actually.
And I mean, they picked up the MASH reports
Yeah.
in the last couple of years, and say they primarily showed QI.
Well, a little bit of politics. That's because the BBC are completely and utterly dominated by their fear of the Conservative Party destroying them.
It's a little bit of politics.
But also,
Sorry, I went Ben Elton then.
But it wasn't. But MASH Report wasn't BBC Studios, was it? Isn't it like wasn't it Hat Trick? Because
And Hat Trick go where they like.
Yeah, because it's the same reason that Bake Off could easily drift to Channel 4 because it wasn't a BBC production.
Yeah,
And it was
like Spooks was like Kudos, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's all like the production companies themselves. Well, it's like Grant Naylor Productions in some ways, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So-
It's like what happened. I mean, Taskmaster did the opposite. They jumped from Dave to Channel 4. And I get the feeling in later series, Baby Cow, which is Steve Coogan's production company, are looking after Red Dwarf. They could feasibly take Red Dwarf to another channel because now they're producing that series. They could take them back to the BBC.
You say that, I just read it. Dave is owned by UK TV, which is a subsidiary of BBC Studios.
Is
That's
it?
what I
Yeah.
thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, wow, okay.
I would really like to see any new Red Dwarf content on either the BBC or Dave, because I think either of them have really just kind of deserve it, because the BBC, 8 fucking series, over 50 episodes. And Dave, well, saved it from oblivion with this very series that we're talking about now.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's something we didn't actually talk about at the beginning, did we, at the first episode, that the BBC wanted to go a different direction. That's the whole reason why the numbers were fairly all right, but they just decided, actually, we don't want to do another one. We want to go in a different direction.
Maybe, and if every episode they landed on a planet and then like renovated a house.
With Carol Smiley.
Yeah. Smiley Bot. And if they did that, or found things and sold them at auction from the planet.
So anyway, that bloke from Coronation Street turns up.
Steve, does he phone Craig Charles?
He does.
Yeah, he does.
So he can see
I know.
Craig Charles, and his immediate reaction is to
Phone
Craig Charles and go, "I've just seen you. I can see you at the moment." What the fuck?
The thing I kind of like about this, and it goes into the next scene, is he's chewing on a pen, and when he comes into the next scene to explain to Craig Charles what he's just seen, Craig Charles asks him how many he's had, and he takes the pen out of his mouth and says, "A few."
Yeah. Yeah.
That was clever.
Yeah, it was,
I'll give you that. I still didn't laugh, but it was clever.
And so apparently no one won the car bug then if they've sold it for $7,000 because now on telly is the magazine that's in the shop. And it says Red Dwarf lands on Coronation Street plus win a car bug on the magazine. I like that. What about the accents in the shop?
Brilliant.
Danny John Jules was the best one.
Yeah,
because it just, it's the one you least expect.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris Barry is very talented in doing accents. So was he deliberately doing a bad accent?
I don't know.
I would guess. Yeah.
I think he was just playing up, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's a bit like Les Dawson with the piano, isn't it? You need to be good at something to truly do bad well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not quite true because I can do a lot of things very badly that I am not good at. Particularly accents.
And I just get this feeling that Michelle Keegan, by the way, was just on the verge of breaking constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favourite bit in this is they said a phrase which, well, it's not a phrase, but something I hadn't heard in years. And I was like, I really want to start saying that again, which is mint.
Oh, mint.
People still say mint in Manchester.
Oh, yeah. I used to say it with my mate, got me to say it when we sort of met at college. He used to say it a lot. We got in there and it just got stuck in my head and then it's kind of faded away over the years. And it's like, I just really want to start saying mint again.
Unironically, people still say it in Manchester. It's a phenomenon.
I say rad, unironically.
Nice.
That's rad.
Cool.
Oh, that's rad, Matt.
Safe.
Right. I heard someone the other day, I hadn't heard this term for years. Someone used the term gash to describe something that wasn't very good. I hadn't heard that in years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know someone's
Taking it back.
I know a drummer whose second name is Gash.
What is it though?
Jonathan Gash.
No, but what is his surname if it's Gash?
It's Gash.
Yeah, but what is his surname though?
His surname is Gash. Gash.
I went to college with a lad whose last name was Arse.
No.
How was it spelled?
Terrible.
As it sounds.
Can we continue?
We can.
I'm going to give you some more commentary shit while we're fucking distracted. So the movie failed because they had a BBC TV deal, but they didn't have the money. The TV deal lapsed before they got the money they needed, and then the BBC said, no, thank you.
Twats.
So that's why. And this is off the Doug Naylor commentary.
Wow.
So that somewhere there is a script that was pretty fucking close.
We will get there in the Dave stuff, Mark, because there's a lot of the stuff from the film ends up in the show. So we'll get there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you mentioned a couple flashback. He's had a couple. How many episodes? And again, it's how many episodes we have left. But I thought Craig Charles's acting against himself was brilliant.
Yeah. I like how happy he is before he sees himself.
Yeah.
How happy he is to see the others, and he doesn't quite know what they're doing there. He thinks it's a really nice surprise.
What are you guys doing here? But immediately doesn't think, why the feck are you in character?
Yeah.
It doesn't crop into his head.
Well, it's because as well that it's a manifestation of the psyche, isn't it? It's not real.
Yeah. What do you think it would have been like if we'd met the other actors?
So I actually, before rewatching it, in my head, they had met all four of the other actors. So really? I don't know where I got that from. It's been so long since I watched it that I think I just made it up.
I think maybe there would have been not as much mileage from them because they'd have had to go on there probably would have had to been another episode and gone on a quest where they have to meet everybody. Like Robert Llewellyn would have probably tried to solar power Crichton. And
I think as much as I hate to say it, Craig Charles is the centerpiece of the show, isn't he? He's the main character. So it would have been a bit different had it been, we're going to see Britus for example. I don't think it would have worked as well.
Well, somebody had brought that up on. I did a Reddit search for Red Dwarf Back to Earth in the tiny bit of research that I did, and somebody was saying, "Oh, I think it would have been better if they'd have gone to, meet Gordon Brittus instead of Coronation Street." And a lot of people were pointing out that Brittus wasn't really a thing at that point.
Yeah, he'd finished.
He'd been off the air for years.
Yeah, I think Craig Charles, out the four of them, in terms of regular acting work at the time, I think Craig Charles pretty much had the highest profile things, because you can mock Coronation Street as you want. It's one of the most popular TV shows in Britain, still is.
My gran loved it.
Yeah. 4 nights a week, is it?
Yeah. It's on 4 nights a week. It is one of the biggest, most regularly watched shows, I think. And Craig Charles ended up being on there for about 10 years, I think, didn't he? Or something like that.
Roughly,
He's done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes. I think his character's called Lloyd.
Yeah.
Lloyd, Mulaney.
Yeah, he's not in there now. I think he's left now, but I think...
Yeah. I think he quit for some Red Dwarf stuff.
Just to confirm this, are we saying Chris Barry wasn't in anything right now during this filming?
Unless this was around Tomb Raider time, but I don't think so.
2009.
Post Tomb Raider.
I'm just thinking from the meta perspective later that he's going, I'll have a sitcom. Give me a sitcom.
Yeah.
Give me a sitcom. It's almost like he's literally going, can someone please give me a show?
That's the bit where in my notes I've written down monkey tennis.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing you could have possibly done is Chris Barry coming out of a voiceover studio, getting into a classic car and accidentally driving through Rimmer.
Yeah, there's not... I was having to look on Barry's IMDb. Yeah, I think 2000... So he was in an episode of Midsummer Murders in 2007.
Yeah.
That's not a high point in your career then, is it?
The Optician...
Not hearing a word against Midsummer Murders.
2008. Then from 2008 to 2011, there's a gap, and it's a voice of a character called Happy Apple in the Fruit Cases. Then in 2013, Saving Santa, playing Blitzen. So
that's hardly the most busy he's ever been, is it?
No. I mean, and then after that, he plays manager uncredited in the little mixed word up video where he's actually playing Gordon Brittus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is he not even talking about...
Brilliant.
Yeah, because he plays Brittus in that.
Yeah.
So,
is he not even talking about Massive Engines during this hiatus?
He's not in the...
I've just paused it on the next scene, and I've just seen Rimmer's band is back.
It's never left him.
He was on the escalator, wasn't there?
He was on the escalator.
This is the crux of the whole series.
Yeah.
Where is the band?
It's like the heart necklace on Yellow Jackets. Where is it?
Yeah. But now
I want to talk about how they start to look for their creator.
Yes.
Not their creators.
Yes.
Fuck you, Rob.
Yeah, that really did seem to me to be quite bitchy and quite nasty, and just really kind of emphasized what had happened between Rob Grant and Doug Naylor. And, we're very fortunate that whilst they still clearly fucking hate each other, they are getting on because they want to make money these days.
Yeah.
But it really does emphasize what had happened with Red Dwarf, because the Mary Sue in this episode is not an amalgamation of Rob Grant and Doug Naylor. It's Doug Naylor.
Yeah.
Doug Terrell.
Yeah.
Doug Terrell.
But it also does kind of emphasize that this isn't actually our reality.
No.
Yes.
So they have met the Craig Charles that plays Lloyd in our reality, but it isn't actually our reality because it isn't Rob Grant and Doug Naylor. It is a random character that is a Mary Sue of Doug Naylor.
And there's a massive pyramid in London that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
True. I would have seen it when I've been there.
Are you sure?
Definitely didn't notice it.
Are you sure you just weren't facing the other direction, Colin?
That's possible, actually. Yeah, fair point. Didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Just because I've got Chris Barry's IMDb in there, when are we going to do the Get Fit with Britus episode?
It's not possible. There's only like 2 episodes out of the 6 that exist.
Yeah, I've tried. I've tried to look because there's one with Leslie Joseph. I think I can see, but I can't find any others.
Anyway, we're not talking about that. We need to carry on. London. We're looking for the creator, as Mark cutely put it. The doorbell ring. It kind of everything gives this away now, doesn't it? About there's something really not right here.
Yeah.
And the Munchkins visitors, which is still one of the funniest things I've ever seen. The face that Chris Barry's putting on that Munchkin is just so funny.
I enjoyed that too.
I didn't like him.
Oh, shut up!
Off.
Get off my podcast, Carl.
You're not going to let him say that, are you, Mark?
Yeah, I'm not that comment.
I didn't like him.
Fuck off.
What, the creator of the podcast?
Oh, me and Mark are going to fall out, aren't we?
We're going to have like what was it? Creational differences? I don't know.
Yeah, creative differences.
Creational difference.
Yeah, we tried to procreate. We tried to procreate. It didn't work.
Procreative.
No, we did not try to procreate. You're not my type. I'm not into straight blokes.
I'll just continue eating my gold bear, thank you.
That's what he said.
Honestly, though, some of the fucking gags we've made over the last 3 episodes are better than the gags on Back to Earth. We're funny.
I don't know about that.
Also, I've been drinking wine and I've suddenly clearly become really obnoxious.
Suddenly,
yeah, just like the creator says, like the creator says later on in this episode, Mark, I've grown weary of you.
I mean, we've done 120 episodes at this point.
Well,
you've avoided at least 60 of them.
So, the bullets.
Yeah.
Stylistically brilliant, make no fucking sense because he shoots 1,000,000 bullets later on, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Also, it does make me wonder a bit. Like, there's the 4 of them with bullets, and obviously Holly's not there. Has he already shot Holly?
Has he already shot Kachansky?
Yeah.
But yeah,
well, Holly's not on the ship in the first place, is he?
Has he shot Talkie Toaster?
Has he shot Bob?
Yeah, that's who.
Has
it
he
was.
shot Hob? Who shot Hob?
No.
Coming soon.
That's what she said.
Lol.
What is going on?
I want more life, Colin. I want more life.
I want more life, Mega.
It doesn't have the impact that the original Blade Runner has with those speeches, though, does it? It doesn't quite hit that level.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think it was supposed to be fair.
It's fine. Yeah.
And I think there's clearly a fondness for Blade Runner, but he's not scared to take the piss either. And I think it works because this is the first time I've watched it since seeing Blade Runner. I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to. And yeah, I kind of like Back to Earth.
I watched, for my research, I watched both Blade Runner and League of Gentlemen Apocalypse. And
Nice.
both were so much better than, unfortunately, these episodes of Red Dwarf.
I'm not disputing that,
No.
but I think I have
I'm warming to it, but it's still not a great episode. They're still not great.
I think I have developed a weird little soft spot for Back to Earth. There are some really nice little tender moments that really matter, like the stuff on the bus, like the stuff with the death of Kachansky and Craig Charles crying and the thing with Mel Bibby. There's a lot of stuff that you don't immediately think about when you think about Back to Earth, but rewatching it, and I don't know, I'm glad I went into it with a kind of analytical mind, which isn't always the case when we do episodes of this, because a lot of the time when you go into it analytically, you find stuff that you're like, oh, that's fuck shit. Whereas I think it's the opposite way with Back to Earth for me.
Yeah, I do think that.
Yeah.
I do think that. Let's look at this, because they're talking about this series cancellation and series cannot be revived, and then that's as I say, they talk about the Crichton spin-off, the sitcom, the show about cats that would never work, and then the death is magnificent, it's sad and beautiful. See, and then obviously the creator is the one that's running after them to kill them. And that's before we get to the kind of the emotional stuff of that. So, Half Light Bright and stuff like that worked. I thought worked quite well. It wasn't exactly really funny, but it was actually quite a nice. It was a nice play on words, I thought. Don't know what you thought about that.
I think for me, a problem with this, and I don't know if you've had that, is I find this scene a bit more impactful if it was a different actor.
Right.
I don't know what it is about this actor. I remember at one point in the build up to this, they were talking about like, oh, the guy that we've got for this is really, really good. And when I watched this, I was like, I don't like this guy.
He's on a right downer today, isn't he?
I know.
I've been so much more positive about Back to Earth than I expected. And Carl, who's normally Mr. fucking happy, has been a right bellend.
That's Mr. Happy. Thank you, Mark.
The Prince Among Men has ruined him. That's what's happened.
That's true.
Poison's in my veins.
We've corrupted him with Prince Among Men.
We ruined him.
I just didn't. I
thought it was perfectly
like
acceptable. I thought it was
perfectly acceptable, but it felt like it should have been somebody else. It felt like it should have been somebody bigger, if you know what I mean. It should have been Doug.
Yeah.
Or someone who looked more like Doug.
It absolutely should have been Doug. That would have been so much more fitting. Yeah. Doug with the, dressed up like
Rob Grant.
Like Elton Terrell.
Wow.
He's got one leg, give him a very ornate false leg for it, and this it would have, or in the tradition of him playing different roles that would just be weird. Robert Llewellyn, Sans mask,
But see, the issue I've got is this is when the fact that he's flipping ripping off Blade Runner, I don't think works. And then you get to the scene where he goes he tries to kill them, and it's just basically the death of Pris from Blade Runner, and.
Rutger Hauer.
But for a series that
they should have got Rutger Hauer.
He was probably a little bit out of their budget.
True.
Okay, can I continue?
Yes.
No.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm not sorry.
No,
fuck you, Colin. So yeah, for a series that has created its own kind of like iconic science fiction concepts and series.
I've muted them all. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So for a series that has managed to create its own kind of concepts and kind of ongoing jokes, original kind of twists on things, and for something that could have potentially been the series closer, I think it's a bit of a massive kind of like either cheap, like FU, like to kind of be overly referencing Blade Runner. But when I think Red Dwarf could have easily started to put its own original spin on things and created something a lot better rather than this kind of like fan film that they've done. And this is the part that kind of really has let me down in terms of like Back to Earth, is just that if they did something more original, I probably would have been a lot more warmer to it.
Definitely.
I think. Yeah. And that's what and kind of annoys me about the whole thing, is that we've seen the creativity for the last like 20 years of the show to date.
Yeah.
Use the fucking thing. Don't say, oh, we was influenced by Blade Runner, like half an hour before it's about to air, just so you could say it's an excuse to say why you've homaged it. It just doesn't work.
It's a similar level to when I did a school class assembly when I was in about 8 years old or something, and we did it as Red Dwarf, and we just copied loads of Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
it's, and I was 8.
Yeah.
It's like you said about the fan film aspect. It is that thing of almost like a group of people get together, let's make a Red Dwarf film. Oh, wouldn't it? And just throwing ideas out there, but using all of them. It's like, what if they came into the real world? What if they went to Coronation Street? What if they met Craig Charles?
It's like when you're playing with action figures when you're a kid, but you haven't got the complete set of stuff, and you just got different things from things you like. So, like, I'll be there going like, "Oh, Raphael is there," and suddenly Winston from Ghostbusters comes up, and they're going to be fighting, I don't know, the baddie from Bucky O'Hare. Yeah.
It's not Ready Player One.
Well, it was, but years before.
It could have been if Doug had got his way.
If you put Pete in there, it would have been.
It's not the old extent of that, but it's like the case of like, I've got my Red Dwarf action figures and I got my Deckard figure. Let's see what happens.
It really does just feel like fan fiction, I think, is the summary of what we're saying here.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are just thrown in when you could have just done an episode of Red Dwarf.
I mean, the seed of it is that they want more life. They want Red Dwarf to carry on, and they were cut short. That's where the seed of it. If you'd just been honest and said, Red Dwarf isn't based on Blade Runner, because it's not, but Blade Runner is a great variation on, the replicants had X amount of life and they want more.
4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want more. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's it. That's all you need to do. But to like sort of play up, it was almost like, we've got to play it up. Red Dwarf are all like this. It's like, well, no, it was more like we said in previous episodes. It's more like Alien. It's more an Alien or other shows. Blade Runner never really came to mind. There was a couple of times, and maybe 7, where the music cues were a bit Blade Runner-y. But that was about it. That's all it's ever been for me, anyway, that ever instilled it.
I mean, if they wanted to go with the whole thing of the crew begging that they wanted for more life, you could, and also not having to fork out a lot of money for guest stars. Revenge of the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Have them turn back up, and I'm sure. To be fair, I can imagine Jack Doherty wasn't that expensive in 2009 to do, even if he just does the voice. It's Richard Temple inside the suit. Get Jack Doherty to do the voice again, and just at the end of it, they beg for life, and by the end they find out how to outwit him again. There's a lot of things you could do. I mean, something that would have been interesting is if when we do see Kachansky again, it's Claire Grogan.
Yeah, spoilers.
They could have done something with like Chloe Anna and Claire Grogan both turning up. I mean, it's that fucking meta that at this point that would have actually been quite fun and interesting.
And I think that, and the weird thing for me as well, just by talking, because I don't mind. As I say, in bits, in chunks of it, I think it's quite good. I think it's. The glass scene I was never really fond of anyway, even in Blade Runner. No. But this idea that they've got when it's kind of asking for more life and stuff like that, it's different to the way Blade Runner was playing it. They've played it differently. But this is meant to be a female squid. It's meant to elate, yet you choose a dystopian movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, surely pick something like, I don't know, something joyful, like that actually it builds up and they get more and more happy about stuff. You know what I mean? And it breaks reality that way. Then it's like, well, there's Kachansky, there's your aim, but you choose a dystopian movie for something that's meant to be the opposite of Despair Squid.
They could almost have it like the end of Star Wars, where they're all stood there with medals and everyone's cheering them, and then one of them goes, "Hang on a minute," and that's when they realise they're still in it.
And the Ewoks singing Yub Nub.
Exactly.
And I suppose their theory is the back to earth is the elation, but it's like it's not, because they're just they're more confused.
Yeah.
And I think the Joy Squid is a great idea.
Yeah.
It really is. And going back to one of the best fucking episodes of Red Dwarf in Back to Reality and flipping it the opposite way around is a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
But I don't really feel like there's very much joy in this episode.
Yeah, it's pretty blatant. There's no joy in this episode.
Blatantly.
Yeah.
You know what? I've been just thinking about it just then. It's been staring me in the face who the creator should have been the whole time. Matt McDonald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. That would have been brilliant.
Or David Ross.
Or David, just have the chair spin round and it's Mac McDonald, and it's just like, of course it is. And he'd have really thrown himself into that speech as well. I think it's because I find the guy who does play him oddly restrained. I know he's not, but it doesn't feel like he's a super villain or anything like that. Whereas I think if you got like Mac McDonald, Mac would have thrown in like I am your creator, all this. I think he'd have really gone a slightly different, more bigger way.
Yeah. He wouldn't have been as badass.
It would have been a surprise to us as you're the creator. You could play it that way, couldn't you? Yeah. But again, it just goes to the point. I mean, as I say, the more we talk about it, the more I'm going, actually, this does not make sense whatsoever. As in like a concept.
Danny John Jules would have worked in a kind of in a weird kind of almost Dwayne Dibley.
Yeah. He never gave himself any lines. Yeah.
If Dwayne Dibley had been the creator, that would make sense because he wanted to be the cat.
Yeah.
But Danny John Jules would have had anyone other than this guy who wasn't bad, but wasn't good.
No. I bet he was cheap.
It's really bizarre, isn't it? Really bizarre.
And I think it's really kind of sad that the vast majority of the money, it's obvious the vast majority of the money went on the fucking Blade Runner homage rather than actually spending it on something Red Dwarfy.
The glass thing, when the actors go through the glass, they look so awkward going through the glass. Chris Barry in particular looks really uncomfortable going through the glass.
Well, good, because I think you should look uncomfortable going through glass. I know, obviously, it wasn't fucking glass, but
in a way, but in that almost like, you can't see me do this on the podcast, but it's almost like Chris Barry's like, oh, ow, he's
ting tang, what a bing bang.
Yeah, he's not acting like I'm running through glass. He looks very hesitant, and he's not putting it, but it's blatant that they've only got one shot to do it.
Blatant.
Yeah.
They did only have one take. They literally couldn't afford to have more than one take.
Yeah.
I genuinely disagree. I think the horror of the image really works, and the light beam fizzle is the best effect in the entire 3 episodes.
Maybe it's just the way it's edited for me, because they go down very scattered. I know obviously you can't shoot all 4 of them at once, but they go down really oddly. Because you see Crichton kind of act like he's been shot, and then he doesn't go down, and then he does go down, and Lister seems to go down too early.
Well, as I say, it's a one shot, isn't it? So, okay, so let's move it on a little bit, because we've gone past the glass bit. They've had the run when they're running after total homage to Blade Runner. It comes back to the room again, and Lister grabs hold of him by the head and kind of like starts to like put pressure on him. There's a whole gun scene as well, which is reversed, which looks awful when it's like spins around when he's got the gun.
I don't know. I quite like how cool that looks when the cat catches it.
When the cat catches it, fine, yeah. Not when the cat catches it. When the creator gets it back. That doesn't
it's
look
when
as
it
good.
Pauses for just that bit too long when he's got it. Yeah. I think that's some of the things for me that don't hold up is the editing's a bit. And I think that spoils it in some bits, like the pause before the ad break and things like that. You still with us, Colin?
Not very much. Oh, man.
We're almost there.
Nearly there.
We're almost there. 2 nights in a row, mate. 2 nights in a row you've been with me this time.
It's actually early. What's wrong with you all?
I was nearly falling asleep at work today already.
I've got like
tomorrow.
I'll be up another 3 hours after this.
Yes, but you haven't got to get up at 5 for work.
Why would I want to do that? I work for myself.
Anyway,
exactly.
As Colin's supporter, I can't remember what the word is. What do they call it in America?
Padre?
Yeah, no, you know, inside someone's got AA meetings and stuff. They have somebody done
sponsor.
As Colin's sponsor, I'm saying let's move on with the episode.
Sleep sponsor.
What about the rewrites? How do you feel about the rewrite scenes and the Sideshow Bob stuff?
Well, it's Spaceballs, isn't it?
Went on too long.
Yeah.
I didn't realise Spaceballs. I just saw this yesterday, I think it was, that Tim Russ is in Spaceballs. He's the one that does the
All right.
We ain't found shit.
"We ain't found shit"
Yeah,
line.
Yeah.
What? Oh, did not.
Yeah.
I've not seen Spaceballs in years. Never
Yeah.
realised it was.
"We ain't found shit."
I've never seen Spaceballs. Is it good?
Yes,
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
fundamentally, it's one of the brilliant.
I would say it's Mel Brooks' second best film after Blazing Saddles.
I've not seen Blazing Saddles. Is it good?
Yes,
Men in
it's fucking
Tights is better than
fantastic.
Blazing Saddles.
Nah,
Men in Tights is
that's
Mel
third,
Brooks.
I reckon.
I've never seen Men in Tights. Is it
I'm
good?
quite. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
I'm
love
quite
Men in
interested
Tights.
to see the History of the World Part 2. The
Yes.
one that's just come out as a mini series that's got like everybody in it. It's
See, we've all caught it up now, which is great. Well done, lads.
Yeah.
I've not
Not
seen
entirely.
the History of the World. Is it good? I've clearly missed all of this good shit.
It's one of those ones. You remember, like they did that sketch show on ITV where it's just had everybody in. They might only appear for one sketch, and you have like Neil Morrissey here and Bob Mortimer there, and this person there, and a random celebrity. Imagine that, but a Mel Brooks mini series, like a sketch show about the history of the world. Like it's got Seth Rogen and Aubrey Plaza and like everybody under the sun because they all want to work with Mel Brooks before he dies. It's the first one's like that, but it was a film, and this one they decided. I think they turned it into like a 3-night event.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to the
Cool.
typewriter scene.
yes.
Went
It's a
too long.
nice idea. It went on too long. Yeah, I agree.
It had that weird element of like Lister's losing control. A bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he was crushing his head together, and like it was like, oh, okay, what's going on here? And the typo I thought was quite good, especially because you know me.
Yeah.
Yes, that was
Witch
fun.
me, just witch me. I quite like that.
Which was good. I wasn't too fond of the slapstick Rimmer stuff, but then Rimmer's been known for doing slapstick stuff, hasn't he, like that before? So I suppose that the kind of that comedy, that physical comedy, needs to be in there for him to.
Particularly Doug Naylor is obsessed with Rimmer's genitals.
It was the fact that when they realised that Lister wasn't writing anymore, that Rimmer's still ramming his junk into the corner of the desk. Just shows Rimmer's psyche is in control, and he just keeps doing it.
And then you've got the Sideshow Bob rape joke, which
Yeah.
Which is funny in
I
Sideshow
like
Bob.
that.
The Sideshow Bob
I
one
like
is funny
that.
because
No.
because the thing with that
It felt like it was.
well for me the Sideshow Bob joke works because it's a dugum. Badung.
Yeah.
This is like badunk, 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 badunk,
Yeah.
And he's
badunk.
smiling.
You know, it's like, oh no.
It felt like it was thrown in there to give Danny John Jules something to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly.
I liked it. I
Exactly.
found it funny.
Oh, I thought it was funny. I just don't. It's not as funny as Sideshow Bob.
No.
Nowhere near.
Well, no, but there's a lot of stuff in this that is clearly kind of just stolen.
Lampooning.
Not as good as the original source material. We've talked about The League of Gentlemen. We've talked about Blade Runner. We're now talking about Sideshow Bob. It feels like almost lazy. And we know that Doug Naylor's better than this.
Yeah.
But it doesn't alter the fact that I still found it funny.
I wonder if there's a moment where Doug Naylor thought this wasn't going to make it to air, and that's why that he wrote the script, and then they were like, "No, Doug, we're actually going to do it." It's like, "Oh shit,
We filmed it." No.
Yeah. Well, Kat gets the origami, and Crichton starts to smell Kachansky's perfume. So this is where we start to understand that they've got a choice in the matter. And whether they can come or go. So, and again, the thing that holds this whole thing together, and as I said, I'm not a fan of edits. It's not particularly my bag to look at those type of things, but I can imagine a tightly edited version of this film, this Red Dwarf, for about maybe a 40-minute, 50-minute thing might work because the three elements of Lister work so well, and this again is part of this. This is like where it actually gets to the serious point, which is bizarre to say that the best part of these three episodes are the serious moments, but it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what I think where I was coming from, I think last episode when I was saying there's something about it that I really like. I think it's different. I think it works from a comedy drama perspective. The drama is the thing that's driving it, but it's too much. We've said it right through these last 3 episodes. Set pieces are going on too long because they have to stretch it out, and that's why it doesn't work.
That's always been a thing about Red Dwarf, isn't it? That they have some very good sci-fi concepts, some really sophisticated, fascinating, interesting takes on tropes of science fiction. And this does have that.
Yeah.
But the previous episodes were funny.
Yeah.
Wasn't it said that Naylor was the sci-fi writer and Grant was the comedy writer?
Yeah.
I remember reading that, and I think
That's
it kind of
fascinating.
makes sense.
And
I think that makes
sense.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing as well is, the thing that I don't know if we really took it into account is, this is Doug after 9 years off, essentially.
Yeah.
He could just be rusty.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go to the drama, because Crichton does reveal what we found out last episode, that he was lying. He's lying! And Lister
Do you like that version of Crichton?
Lying!
Do you like the neurotic Crichton? Do you?
Why didn't you mention it ever?
I never mentioned that. So Lister starts to understand it, and then we hear Kachansky is on the way. So the fact that they're making that choice, and this scene just before we get into the really serious part of it, what do you make to it, Carl?
I thought it was very interesting in that, this is where we go into drama, in that the other 3 are disappearing because their natural antibodies are taking them out of it, but they also have chosen to leave. But now the squid is making one last bid to keep Lister, and she's about to walk through the door. And it's almost, if it was a more serious thing all the way through, it'd almost be like a horror moment.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is the thing that's going to kill you. And the fact, when we see Craig Charles's performance of what he looks like in the thing, the eyes are spasming and rolled back in his head. And it's genuinely quite disturbing to see. And then we see Chloe Annette, who very much looks like
Rachel.
Sean Young.
Very Rachel.
Very, but also hasn't aged a day.
No.
Which,
she looks,
if anything, looks better.
I was just about to say that. She actually, I'm all for Series 8 Chloe, but actually, and I don't have a fascination for, obviously we won't talk about Blade Runner's sexual part of it, because it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
But she looks incredible.
Really? What the fuck's going on with her hairdo? I thought the hairdo was fucking ludicrous.
Well, it's Rachel's
Blade
hairdo.
Runner
It's
reference.
Rachel's
Rachel's
hairdo.
Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
yeah, but it means that Chloe Annett looks ridiculous.
No, her facial features she looks amazing.
Maybe I was just distracted by the hairdo.
You're such a bitch, Mark.
No,
It's only because he's got none. It's only because he's got none. It's only because he's got none.
Got none what?
Hairdo.
Oh, hairdo. Oh, I thought you were talking about heterosexuality.
All that.
No, you wouldn't be jealous
Like
of that, though.
zero heterosexuality. You know how people say there's a fucking scale? Nah, mate.
So the question I've got here at the moment as well is that, are you going to assume that there was some resuming of the romantic relationship between the two of them in those 9 years? Because I probably would not have gotten that from what Kachansky was like at the end of Series 8.
I get the feeling that it went what's the word? It went unsaid. It was there's always going to be a chance. They've always had feelings for each other, and it looked like it was going to be, but then Lister turned out, Lister has to Lister, and
Lister's got a Lister.
Lister's got a Lister, and Kachansky just couldn't take it. 10 years of, waiting for your ex to grow up. And then anybody would be there going I've waited 9 years and he's still not changed. I've got to go out there and see if there's some space hunk.
She's gone looking for Hollister, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or what was it? Her ex-boyfriend, Tim.
Ex-boyfriend Tim, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as we know, he's in the skate pod somewhere.
Or an interdimensional portal for actual Dave.
Yeah.
So,
My Dave.
That's true.
My Dave.
yeah, which I think
Dave.
Series 8 completely forgot.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing, I didn't realize the Blade Runner reference with the hair. And the thing I remember being confused about at the time was, obviously we do it's the Shining footage is the sky, isn't it, when we go to the car. I couldn't figure out if the fact that she changed hair and outfit meant in there, like in, oh, bollocks, what's it called? Life on Mars, that they've actually been together for a long period of time in...
What, it's like kind of Inception it kind of thing.
Yeah, they've been together a long period of time in the fantasy, but in the real life, List has only been there for a couple of minutes.
I think that's
Big
another
Finish.
reference.
Big Finish.
Big Finish, yeah.
It's another reference to, because Sean Young's hair changes at the end of that as well. So it's just pretty much a carbon copy of that final shot where I think it's the theatrical version where it's the happy ending.
Yeah.
Where they drive off and stuff.
It's not the director's cut because that's the version I watched last week.
Yeah,
because that's the one that ends in his apartment where you got Ella J. It's too bad she won't live.
Yeah.
And the thing that kind of amused me about this was when they're pulling along and then Lister realizes and stops the car, and Chloe Annette gets flung forwards. Part of me was like, that's real. They did that to get the best reaction out of. She's only coming back for one. Let's nearly kill her.
Why did they need to? We've established on this podcast that she is one of the greatest actors of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Leave us for Crime Traveller, will you? Whoa.
No, what probably happened is that on the set, guys, we need to get Craig to like just basically stop. We need to shock him. And they go, we need to get him to a position where he's like so shocked he stops the car, and someone off set goes, oh, remember, we didn't get a second series of Crime Traveller.
We should get more Crime Traveller. I mourn the loss of Crime Traveller.
I want to do another series where we've got Colin and Kurt watching it just to see how they do.
I mean, they are some of the best specials we've ever done.
Yeah.
We should have we're going to have me watch Red Dwarf for the first time from series 10 onwards.
Yeah.
We should do that with Colin and Kurt for Crime Traveller. More Crime Traveller is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
More crime, more travelling.
Yes.
So my question, as we wrap up this podcast and Colin can
Thank fuck for that.
go to sleep.
Oh, it's early, and I've only drunk 3/4 of my bottle of wine.
Yeah, we've only got
Hey,
the half hour of wrap up to do after.
And I suppose it is kind of like a bit Blade Runner-y, but it's like when he comes out of the thing, it's like stop there, stop there, stop there, stop the episode there. And then we have another couple of scenes. I'm like, oh, what? No, because that's a perfect ending. You could just have him come round and Red Dwarf have done it before. Leave it as a cliffhanger, as in you don't know what's going to happen next. You just kind of know they're coming out of it. You know he's going to be fine, and just leave him. You know what I mean? Just let them get on with it. But we have to have another couple of scenes.
They probably won't resolve it.
No.
It all goes back to what we've been saying over the last 3 episodes, that this feels like fan fiction.
Yeah.
I actually quite like how this thing kind of finishes, where he goes out the car, and it's like, oh, you'll never get me and stuff, and but he's like,
yeah, I will.
He's saying, he goes, oh, well, blah, blah, but I do quite like it's the kind of ending of the kind of crisis, or kind of the re-establishment of Lister's kind of hero,
the status quo
drive. But I do quite like that he kind of links back, and it goes back to things that I know I've said, and I think we've talked about Lister as a character, in that, he's probably disgusting, but I'm also incredibly brave, which I think is the fundamental kind of basis of Lister's kind of character, in that is actually a directionless slob just coasting through life, who's then ended up having to become the last person on Earth, and ends up having to being not exactly reluctant, like an action hero. So he's not really a reluctant hero. He's just so he's always just been lacking that drive or that essence of survival when there's been people like who has the responsibility to take care of him, but he has to start doing it himself in terms of that way. And I quite like the fact that this kind of story is supposed to get him to remind himself of that. And as much as I'm perhaps not a fan of like the Blade Runner stuff, the bit where the whole kind of like I'm disgusted but incredibly brave kind of is a nice summarization of the character itself. Now, if this was the last, because this potentially could have been the last thing we've ever would have had of Red Dwarf, I think that's kind of a natural, nice way to perhaps end that character's arc and the character's arc, whilst also acting as perhaps a reaffirmation for potential future stuff. And I quite like how that kind of resolves itself.
Do you know why this wasn't the last thing we ever had of Red Dwarf?
Because
There's
they
a
wanted
car
more.
advert?
No, because 11.4 million people tuned in, and it was the biggest audience Dave had ever had.
And still to this day, original programming, I think it's still the biggest.
I did not know 11.4 for Dave.
Yeah.
Got that from the commentary, Matt.
Yeah, where I think it's on. I think it's on
for
the thing.
2009. That's actually fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Regardless of what people say about it wasn't funny, it was a low budget, yada yada yada. Back to Earth is one of the most important things that ever happened to Red Dwarf.
We need to fact check that, because according to Red Dwarf's official website, 4 million people watched part 1 over the 4-day weekend. Part 2 attracted 3 million. Part 3 earned a rating of 2.9 million over the initial weekend.
I remember
Doesn't that make it 11.4 in total?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what... So, okay, fair enough. But I'm just quoting what Doug Naylor said.
I just want to say it wasn't like 11.4 million on part 1. That's what I'm trying to clarify. Yeah.
Well, all right. Well done, Rob. Well done, Grant Naylor. You got me with your no lies, but interesting interpretation of the truth. But still 4 million people.
Oh yeah.
Even for Dave, even for those figures for Dave,
that sounds a lot more realistic.
I mean,
it's still phenomenal.
I mean, as well with this, we've got. I think if this was Series 7. We wouldn't have had. I think Lister would have walked off after and he would have faded away, and that would have been the end of the episode, because it would have had that dramatic kick to it.
Yeah,
I do like as well, because initially when they make the joke about, we watch you on Dave with because he basically repeats what the kids say earlier on to him, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Almost word for word. But I think the fact he repeats they've got a TV channel named after me, that actually works. In that speech, and it's like, I'm pretty bloody good,
Again, something from the commentary is that Dave came to Doug Naylor. Doug Naylor did not go to Dave. They came to him for a 21st anniversary celebration. Of course, he was always going to be a bit of a sycophant, and I have no problem with that.
That goes back to my original point. Back to Earth is a very, very, very important part of Red Dwarf's history. No matter which way you slice it, it's really, really important.
And Dave's history as a channel.
Yeah. I wonder if they tried to get Chloe back for 10, or if they just went, you know what, that's good. That she's out there, and we may come back to it.
I'd guess the latter.
Yeah.
I suppose it's not a spoiler to say that obviously she's mentioned quite a few times, and it is kind of like going back to the reset of like she's out there somewhere. That it's mentioned a few times.
Oh, okay.
But it's not really a thing, because obviously we know that she doesn't return. But
so Back to Earth is canon when it comes to the subsequent series. Oh, okay, cool.
They did have that rejig of this is essentially 9, and then 10 is 10. It's not happening after 10 anymore. So I think they realized, we're going to do more. It's like, we've kind of written ourselves into a bit. It's going to be really confusing if we go to 11 now.
Yeah, but I think they pretty much just say, it's only, I think, quote unquote, our reality that mentions 9 and 10.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's like the timeline's just carrying on with us as the actors age more or less than anything.
Yeah.
So like we've just got a load of unseen stuff that's happened that Big Finish should probably end up doing in between 8 and Back to Earth.
And plus, the reality that they go to isn't our reality, is it? It's slightly adjusted anyway. So
No.
Yeah.
No.
right, we've done it, chaps. Colin is in delirious mode. He's
Yeah,
I am.
I can just imagine, is Helen just out of shot, just stood there with her arms folded?
No, mate, she's been asleep for hours.
Do you remember the Microsoft paperclip? Because that's pretty much what he was just like then. Yeah.
Clippy. I fucking hated him.
But actually, yeah, but definitely before we go, the last kind of joke being that, like, that their reality is the original one. So, like, because of that nice chat where he goes, like, oh, so those people are going to think that their reality in which we're fictional characters is the real one, whereas we're in the real reality. He goes, yeah, probably. It's probably not as like the last kind of last minute punch of humour, but I do quite like how they kind of had that chat, which is kind of very Red Dwarf. It's just missing that kind of final punchline.
Yeah, I don't think it needed the revelation that the cat brought it on board.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that they're going to safely take her back to a water planet and leave her there.
But I thought the squid vanished into another dimension.
They did seem to say that earlier, didn't they?
Yeah.
But maybe that was the start of the thing.
So I think the cat's excuse works, and it's kind of nice that it's actually the cat's fault rather than Lister's for once.
Yeah,
The cat,
it's been there since Caesar is 5.
yeah, and
Yeah.
considering that the cat has been there, and the cat is quite stupid in a lot of ways, it's always Lister's fault. In previous episodes of Red Dwarf, I really liked that it was the cat's fault for once. That felt like a deliberate choice, and I liked that.
Yep.
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 Yeah.
So,
yep.
the next episode that we're going to be doing, chaps, is Red Dwarf 10, an episode called Trojan.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. Neither have I.
Me and Matt have seen it. Me and Carl have seen it. Me and Matt
I've
talk
seen
about
it
it often.
Yeah.
So I've come out of this feeling like almost I was never not into Red Dwarf, but when I first watched this, I was this was crap. This was a cash-in. This was Dave being cheap. All of the negativity that we've mentioned on this podcast over the last 3 weeks. That's how I felt, and I was done.
Yeah.
I've actually really changed my mind having watched Back to Earth. It is not as funny as it could have been. It is not as funny as it should have been, but it is not as shit as I thought it was. And I've really decided that I can't wait. I can't wait to watch more Red Dwarf that is new to me.
Yeah.
That is not my first experience with Back to Earth, but being with you 4 and watching it again in an analytical way, I'm so fucking excited.
It's going to be fun. I'm also very much looking forward to it.
Although Colin can wait because he wants to
Yeah,
go.
my alarm goes off in 4 hours and 18 minutes.
I don't have an alarm.
Well, yesterday I went to bed went to bed and didn't go to sleep. So I'm feeling it now. But
All right, Kurt, don't brag.
So any final thoughts? Obviously, Mark, as you say, any final thoughts on the actual episode before we call it a day? Anyone?
No, good night.
Yeah, well, I've got a few things that I want Colin to hear.
So we'll leave it to the last thing.
Matt. Yeah, I've got a.
We'll leave it to
so
last.
I've got the full. Yeah, I've got this full page of notes I've yet to talk about yet. But
Have we mentioned before we go that we've passed 60,000 downloads?
We haven't.
no,
We've passed 60,000 downloads. Thanks.
It's been quite nice for all of us together to celebrate that, I think.
Ages to get all of those downloaded.
yeah.
Incognito mode, incognito mode, incognito mode.
Yeah, and I think, and I say, again, as we're all here, I was going to say, I think we've got exciting plans potentially coming up to do with like future episodes, future seasons, future things that we haven't announced yet that we've talked about. Yeah, future echoes and stuff.
Principal Men Series 2.
Yes, better that.
Finish me off.
Yeah, and as I think, as Mark was saying, I think at the end of Series 8, we're in a like very new, exciting kind of territory, not only for the show, Red Dwarf, but for the podcast as well. Yeah. And I can't think of 4 dickheads I'd rather do it with. So
I think you're all twats.
So the original plan when it came to this podcast was do a series of 6, do 2 specials, do a series of 6, do 2 specials. We did not fucking stick to that plan. But because we've now got new Red Dwarf potentially coming, as much as I love a special, I love a special, but I don't want to do lots of specials. I want to fucking catch up. And maybe we will actually go back to the original format of series 2 specials, series 2 specials. Maybe. But
you've seen the Excel sheet, Mark. There's a lot of stuff to get through.
I know, but I want to jump.
We haven't even started on the porn.
I recently learned that the porn is a book, not a video.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and you know, the poor disappointment on Mark's face.
I'm devastated.
Right. Anyway, Colin, where can people find you apart from the bed?
I was going to say I'll be asleep in the corner somewhere. The internet.
You can find Colin on Weedig. You can find Colin on Weedig Music and
that's the one.
Google it.
Cheers, Matt.
Google it.
You can find Mark on
at Mark Adams HC on Twitter for me, and also on Instagram. I'm really trying to be better at Instagram, but by the time this is aired, I might have given up on Instagram because I fucking hate it, or Twitter might be dead. I'm also on another podcast called Chucky Vision, which is about child's play, and Chucky the Killer Doll at Chucky Vision on Twitter. And we all know this. If you've listened to Shipwrecked and Comatose, you can find any podcast that any of us mention by going to where you listen to Shipwrecked and Comatose and just using that search facility. It's dead good, isn't it?
Who wants to go next?
You can find me on allmylinks.com/Mr. Carl.
All right, little Miss Succinct.
Find me on Linktree. Just type in Linktree space R-Muldrake, RMULDRAKE.
You're really going to have to get one, Mark.
All right, little Miss Succinct goes to Dallas.
You can find me on the internet somewhere, but under Picky Disc, under Ask Us About Loom, under No Book Club, etc., etc. Just Google it, you'll find it.
Well, congratulations, everyone.
You're not.
We have completed Back to Earth. We are going to be talking about Red Dwarf 10 in episode Trojan. At some point, we have, as I say, lots of exciting things coming up. We're going to be looking at this. Two specials.
Only 2 specials.
But
just 2.
Until next time, as always,
Sleep, Colin. Sleep like the wind.
Colin, wake up.
Colin, he's gone to sleep. We can carry on talking now for like ages and ages and ages because it's like not actually that late.
Welcome to Make It So, a Star Trek Legacy podcast. Engage your warp cores and get ready to embark on a thrilling journey through the depths of the 24th and 25th centuries. Have some fun on the Cerritos. Join the Enterprise D crew. Take a trip with Star Trek Voyager. Take some lessons on the Protostar, or even relax on Deep Space Nine. With Make It So, we pay homage to the rich legacy of Star Trek, celebrating its enduring impact on popular culture and its profound influence on science fiction as a whole. We honour the vision of Gene Roddenberry and the countless writers, actors and creators who have brought this incredible universe to life. So join us as we navigate the cosmic expanse of the final frontier, engage in lively discussions, dissecting episodes, analysing characters, and sharing our love for everything Star Trek. Whether you are a lifelong fan or just beginning your voyage, this podcast is for you. It's time to embark on a journey where the stars are our guides, where the impossible becomes possible, and where the spirit of exploration knows no bounds. Welcome aboard Make It So, the Star Trek Legacy podcast that will transport you to new frontiers and ignite your passion for the future. Make it so. Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast, was created and produced by Mark Adams and Kurt North. You can find us on Twitter at Red Dwarf Pod, and we are part of the We Made This Podcast network.